lost to Heidelberg last weekend, has put the pressure on Zoran Markovski for this week. The pressure has been on South Melbourne the entire season. Currently sitting just above the relegation zone at the moment. The likes of Sion Cuba coming back in for Avondale, also a former South Melbourne player, for a brief 5 minutes or so. This afternoon's clash promises to be an intriguing encounter. I am your commentator for this afternoon, Neil Simons, joined by Mark Ivkovic. Mark, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, Neil. Nice sunny Saturday afternoon here in Melbourne. Interesting game this afternoon. Probably one of the first times in about 3 years that South Melbourne go into a game where they're not really expected to win. You know, they've been on top of the table for a number of years now, and this clash was always a title deciding match. So a bit of a different complexion to it today, and no pressure on South Melbourne. Obviously pressure to get points as the situation they find themselves in on the table, but I don't think anyone's really giving them too much hope against the high-flying Avondale, so it'll be interesting to see how they come out and play this one.
Absolutely, and I think the issue firmly for South Melbourne as well, as we have a minute of silence. Well, for Avondale, it's Ute Towns, Tom Manos, Dan Edwards, Ethan Pisani, Luca Tavia, Jackson Courtney Perkins, Emlyn Wellsmore, Yusuf Ahmed, Kerr, Manny Agwek, and Christian Trajewski. South Melbourne are more or less unchanged, aside from Morgan Evans dropping out and Max Mikola coming in. Andy Brennan, Marko Jankovic, Jack Pope, Cooper Halfpenny, Jack Payne-Andrews, Robert Harding, George Mills, Max Mikola, Jake Marshall, and Javi Lopez. All three centre-backs for Avondale unavailable.
Yeah, that's
unbelievable.
It's a big blow. You know, Aidan Bryce out for quite a while, Matthew Reid out for a number of weeks, and now Kalalu Kamara out for the lineup this afternoon. So very makeshift defence for Avondale, and considering they conceded 3 goals last week with somewhat of a makeshift defence, now they're even more weak, and the pressure's going to be on them to really defend well this afternoon.
Well, you can see behind us, Mark, you see George Ott, Blake Carpenter, Kalalu Kamara. You add that to Matty Reid as well, Aidan Bryce. It's not good viewing for Avondale fans, and for some reason, Mark, I always get the feeling as if every season, regardless of the success that is attained by Zoran Markovski's side, there's always an injury cloud. Last season, huge injury cloud. Saw players like Adam El Hayek, Massimo D'Argenio get meaningful minutes, even the likes of Sebastian Vargas as well. You just got to ask the questions, is it sustainable?
Well, fortunately for them, they do have quite a bit of depth, but not too much depth to cover the defence. And they did struggle at times last season, but still were able to finish second on the table, so it was a credit to them. But it's a big test for them this afternoon.
Enormous test as we have kick-off here at Avenger Park. Of course, last time these two sides met, Noel Bernardo opened the scoring. It was the penultimate round of the NPL Victoria season for 2024. And, of course, it was a marvellous attempt by Christian Trajewski to bring him back in, but it wasn't enough. South Melbourne securing the Premier's plate for the season. In their battles over the last few years, tantalising. Can't forget that come from behind 4-3 win against Avondale at Lakeside Stadium a few seasons back. Ethan Pisani and Dan Edwards seem to be the centre halves this afternoon. Mark, your thoughts? I mean, we saw it last week with Dan Edwards, and he looked quite uncomfortable.
He did look quite uncomfortable, was out of position a number of times, and Heidelberg really exploited that left-hand side of defence for Avondale between Edwards and Emlyn Wellsmore. So I'm sure Lee Monopolis would have done his homework on that, and they'll penetrate that side of the pitch a lot more.
You'd expect to do so, and they're trying to definitely keep the ball here, but the manner in which South like to press in this new era under Lee Monopolis is definitely intriguing as Trajewski plays the ball out towards that far right-hand side. Here's Kerr. Luca Tavia. Both clubs, we haven't even mentioned, they're in the Australian Championship. The groups got released this week. South in the group including Sydney Olympic, the winner of the Northern New South Wales NPL competition, and the winner of NPL Queensland. Avondale will have a very intriguing draw themselves as well, as we see Tavia on this left-hand side. We're going to shift onto his right. Diligent work though by Jack Pope to win the ball back, and Max Mikala will take. What were your thoughts on Avondale's performance last time out? I mean, was it a case of Heidelberg being the form team in the competition, or are there actually legitimate worrying signs for the Avengers?
I thought they were competitive in that game. I think the scoreline didn't really reflect the pattern.
As Mikala looks to go from range and just whisks over the bar.
Yeah, I don't think that the scoreline reflected the balance of the game. Avondale had a number of chances in that game that they probably should have taken. A fair few defensive errors with that makeshift defence allowed Heidelberg to run over the top of them, and they capitalised on those mistakes. So I don't think too many worrying signs for Avondale. Unfortunately for them, they got off to a flyer this season and, have dropped a couple of games down the last few weeks. But, this is the first time they haven't sat on top of the table after Heidelberg's win last night. So the pressure's back on Avondale to get all 3 points to get top spot back.
And the pressure definitely on South Melbourne. They would need a result this afternoon. Regardless of results, they will stay just above the relegation zone for the time being. But as we know, things in football can change very quickly. Tavia under pressure. Back to Edwards. Since arriving from Port Melbourne mid-season last year, has dazzled in many respects. Was actually brought across from New Zealand, the likes of Eastern Suburbs, as a midfielder at Port Melbourne, and is almost making a claim to be the next Lee Broxham of the NPL. Has played a left back, centre half, even been played on the wing at some points throughout his career. Ahmed looks to find and defeat Kerr. Here's Yankovic. Mells looks to flick it across. Wellsmore. Edwards back to Tom Manos. Avondale look comfortable in possession, but just can't exactly find the delivery to the likes of Kerr and Manny Agwek.
You saw it last week in South Melbourne's game against Green Gully, that they really played a high line and squeezed on the midfield. Didn't press too high, but really congested the middle of the park against Green Gully. In that first 45 minutes, Green Gully struggled to retain possession at all, and it seems like they've come with a similar approach this afternoon, just to really squeeze that line up and congest the middle of the pitch. So Avondale's retaining possession around that back line, but can't find any penetrating passes into the midfield.
The flick on from Mikala finds its way all the way back to Dan Edwards.
Bit of a tweak from Monopolis this week compared to last. Opted for Andy Brennan to lead the line as the number 9 and pushed Rob Harding out wide on the wing, which I think is a intelligent move, as I think Harding's really struggled in that 9 position when he's played it. Andy Brennan probably the more experienced to lead the line.
He's definitely dropped deeper as well, as we've seen. Ahmed, that's very neat work by the Somalian international. Wellsmore looks to fire from range, and Javi Lopez can palm away for the first corner of the afternoon. And now Luca Tavia to take for the Avengers. Just seems as if half of these squads are former Port Melbourne players at this point. Mark.
Yeah, that team did get raided by the big dogs, didn't they?
Tavia to the near stick. Harding heads away. Trajeski. Stutter steps into feet. Yusuf Ahmed. Wellsmore back to Trajeski. Wellsmore. Avondale pegged back just that little bit. And Dan Edwards now. Ethan Pisani. Primarily a 23s player, Ethan Pisani, but the calamity of injuries has resulted in him getting a rare start today. Edwards with the misplaced pass. Avondale seem a little bit nervy in possession, Mark. I've definitely noticed that.
Well, I think not only do they lose that defensive strength of Bryce and Kamara, but they're both extremely good on the ball as well, and do start a lot of their attacks with the passes that they can play, in particular Aiden Bryce, probably the best passer as a centre-back in the competition. So they'll really miss that as well. You know, that's a part of their build-up play, and Dan Edwards and Pisani are going to have to try and fill that void.
Apologies for the audio distortion. Here's Evelyn Wellsmore. And it will be Avondale ball. Conceded, should I say. Max Mikula to take? No? It would be Jack Painter-Andrews now to take. Looks down the line. Mel's Mikula looking across. Head-to-head challenge with Pisani and Harding. Does well to hold the ball up and flick it across. Not quite to Jordan Lampard. Mel's pressing, and Ethan Pisani has to send it long and high, and Marko Jankovic wins the header. A good win by Harding. Here's Lampard. Fashions into delivery. Edwards heads away. Space in midfield for Halfpenny to pick up. Now Mel's. Throws it back to Jack Pope. Mel's will sit deeper and play it all the way back to Javi Lopez. Jankovic. Looks like Jack Pope playing a deep role. He was pushed up higher in that second half last week against Green Gully and nearly scored a Zinedine Zidane-esque goal. He's definitely been someone that's had a bit of a breakout season despite South's dismal form.
Yeah, his work rate in midfield is probably unmatched. You know, he's up and down, box to box all game. Probably one of the only fit players in the South Melbourne squad. Is, you know, we'll see as the game progresses that they tend to fade out in the second half. So that's the key for South Melbourne today, is to really stay in the contest for the full 90 minutes. You know, we've seen most weeks after the 60th minute that they struggle to keep up with their opponents.
A strong win by Trzeski on Marko Jankovic, and looked to feed it in behind, but it's well dealt with by Halfpenny. Now Pope looks to bring the ball forward. It's Andy Brennan, and the break could be on for Hellas. Harding, space for Lampard. It's Jordan Lampard, nippy ball towards Harding. Can he get it across? No. It's fed right into the feet of Jordan Lampard, who just fired it into the foot of Robert Harding.
Getting into the right areas at the moment, South Melbourne, but just need to get that final delivery into the area a little bit earlier and not allow Pisani and Edwards to set themselves.
Ite Towns.
That's way too easy for Avondale to get out from that.
And so too, they might have a breakaway here with Manny Agwek, and space opening up in the middle, especially for Kerr. It's Manny Agwek across the face! And that will be an Avondale goal kick. No, in fact, sorry, South Melbourne goal kick. No, that was all too easy for Avondale to play it out of the back, and the space definitely opened up for Agwek.
Yeah, it's really poor from South Melbourne. You know, they surrounded that penalty area of Avondale, but weren't aware of Ite Towns just coming to receive the ball and had acres of space to quickly break. Would have been a really poor goal for them to concede.
1,000%. Here is Javi Lopez looking to fire the goal kick long. It's definitely got a lot of length on it, and the second ball will be won by Yusuf Ahmed to Villa. Ahmed drifting central. Towns spots out Kerr. Infield. Oh, it's a very neat leave by Yusuf Ahmed. Tricky at that. Tevia twirling around on the D region. Kerr cutting onto his left. Oh, the pass nearly found its way towards Trzeski. That could have been a distinct opportunity for Avondale, but how about the intuitiveness from Yusuf Ahmed? We've missed that, haven't we?
We have missed that. You know, he's been in and out over the last couple of seasons. Yui Ahmed, good to see him back to full fitness and in the starting lineup.
And a poor giveaway by Javi Lopez. Halfpenny has to stretch. Jankovic, strong challenge. And will drift into midfield. Feeds it into Mells. And he's got Mikula to his right. Max Mikula. 1v1 on Emlyn Wellsmore. The two Queenslanders going at it. Centrally was Jack Pope. Out to that left flank is Jordan Lampard. Further wide is Brennan. He seemingly switched positions with Robert Harding for the moment. It's fed in! And Harding was there. Can he get it across to a more central channel for South to exploit? Not quite. And Luka Tavia able to deprive the reprieve for Avondale. Trajeski through the middle. Jankovic able to clear and feed it all the way to Robert Harding. Mells, Halfpenny. And South Melbourne looked at their first real period of possession in this contest.
Very low intensity start to the game. And both teams playing at a slow tempo.
It's a comfortability thing, Mark. I think, especially for South, they've played this regimented style of football, this very much integrated system that they've played, and it's been unrelenting, to be honest, under Esteban. And to shift that approach mid-season is an immensely difficult thing to do.
Yeah, it's not easy for Lemanopoulos to change the mindset of the players. You know, they played quite good football in the first 45 minutes last week against Green Gully, but weren't able to sustain that style of play. It will take time for them to completely shift that mentality.
Yes, it will definitely take time as Mikula's fouled, and the central region, I'm really intrigued to see how he's utilised in this system. We haven't really seen it as of yet, but he was someone in NPL Queensland that scored goals for fun whilst at Lions FC and Wynnum Wolves. Perhaps that dynamism, is that just what South Melbourne need at this point in time? A beautiful switch to find Jordan Lampard on that left flank. Players are waiting in the middle. It's flicked away. Here's Jack Pope up on the potential rebound. Looking to feed it towards Mells. And Avondale don't seem to have a lot of players back. And hence allows space for Kerr to drive. Tavia up ahead of him. Kerr 1v1 on Marko Jankovic. Lateral for Luka Tavia. Here's Wellsmore. It's Trajeski. Tight angle. Lopez can save, and he just gets to it in time.
Well claimed by Lopez in the end. Great play by Avondale, really. That quick passing. You can see when they lift that ball speed, they look so dangerous going forward.
And that high line from South, it can come to bite you. It's such a contrast from what we've seen, especially against Heidelberg United, where they almost as deep as St Kilda. Out wide to Cooper Halfpenny on that left flank. Deeper now is Jordan Lampard. 1-2 touch. New South Walesman with a very neat delivery, but eventually Jack Pope is able to win it first. Here's Mikula. Feeds it inside. The turn from Brennan. Looking to break away. It's Painter Andrews. A strong challenge from Emlyn Wellsmore as he does win the ball for Avondale. A huge acquisition for the Avengers was Emlyn Wellsmore. Trialled at Auckland at the back end of last season following his championship winning season with the Oakley Cannons. Did score in that grand final as well. Hasn't quite hit the ground running here at Avondale, but with this defensive mishap they have in terms of injuries, it's definitely going to provide an intriguing proposition as there's space for Luka Tavia. Out wide to Kerr. Here's Kerr 1v1 on Jordan Lampard. Drives it towards the byline. Tremendous work from Lampard. One of the best 1v1 defenders in this league, you'd have to say.
That's superb defending from Lampard.
It's back towards Tavia. Halfpenny with a lunge, and Jankovic to send it high and out for a throw-in. Edwards. Ahmed. Wellsmore.
The benefit South Melbourne do have this afternoon is the fact that George Mells is involved in this game, as is Tyson Holmes on the coaching staff, who's played against this Avondale midfield for a number of years himself. So they'll know how to contain the rotations that Avondale is so good at in the middle of the park. That's why you probably see them struggling to create through that middle section of the pitch at the moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and George would know Luca Tavia and Ute Towns all too very well, and Jajeski, can't forget about him, of course, has played with all of them at some point in his career. He's been deployed as a number 10 this afternoon. Not really a familiar role for him in his career, but Avondale are pressing. Oh, goodness gracious, that could have been disaster. But Jack Pope is fortunate in that instance, and due to the pressing intent of Avondale, South might look to counter. Brennan loses possession. And Yusuf Ahmed. Avondale to take their time.
I'm not sure if Jack Pope's the one that you want dropping in to that back three to receive possession and start your build-up play. You know, he's probably out of that midfield lineup that they've got, probably the least technical, creative player that they've got. You'd probably want George Mells dropping into that position to receive the ball and start your build-up play.
I'd have to agree with you. Wellsmore across the face. Looks to be overhit, but Kirker will reprieve. And again, Jordan Lampard. Incredible work to force a South Melbourne throw-in. Corny Perkins. Edwards. Looks to drive into feet to Veer. Out wide to Yusuf Ahmed. Almost like a ballerina dancing around Jack Bennett-Andrews, and he looks to just bring a bit of a smile. Towns, slightly heavy touch. Wellsmore flicks it across to Edwards. Mikela pressing, and Manos able to contend well. Avondale much or less on top, but have really struggled to get any effective shots on target. And so too South Melbourne. In behind is Maniagwek, a sumptuous ball perhaps, in fact, to Trojeski. Lopez off his line, it's Yusuf Ahmed! It's fantastic! Lopez caught out of position, and it's Yusuf Ahmed who opens the scoring for Avondale.
Fantastic ball from Maniagwek across the face of goal. Really, put Lopez in a position where he didn't know if he should come or not, and decided to go for it. Lost his footing, but I thought Trojeski probably took a little bit too long to get it to Ahmed, but great finish from Yusuf Ahmed. He wouldn't be missing that, and Avondale take the lead, and South Melbourne with all the work to do now.
Here is Cooper Halfpenny to kick off for South Melbourne. A fantastic finish from Yusuf Ahmed. The deflection actually drops pretty kindly for Brennan. Edwards. Look at a feed it wide. Marshall. South have gone behind all too many times this season, but the question is, can they come back from this? And Brennan wins the 50-50 challenge. Harding.
That's where their high line really caught them out in that goal. Lampard had pushed up high, and Jankovic had to come across to try and prevent Agwek putting that ball into the area. They completely lost their shape. That's the risk you take playing this style of football. If you do lose the ball when you're trying to build up, you can really get caught in transition. And that's exactly what happened to South.
South with a positive period in possession. Mells dropping deep. Payne to Andrews. Marshall. Yankovic. Looks at the diagonal ball. Slightly overhit, though, for Max Mikula. And Wellsmore to take now for the Avengers. Back to goal, Jajeski. Oh, tremendous. But he's forced slightly deep. We'll have to feed it to Ute Towns, who does win it back. And the space yet again, the way that they utilise the full width of the pitch is unbelievable. Courtney Perkins now. Kerr. Avondale to reset. Edwards. Towns. Of course, the all-time appearance maker for this club in the NPL. Agwek. Trajewski. And the tame shot on goal arrives from Avondale, but I guess a case of frustration. All that build-up. Very hard to deliver.
You expect a better striker goal from Agwek in that situation. And it's a good opportunity for Agwek to get a number of games under his belt now that George Ott is out through injury. Zoran Markovsky was opting to swap him on a weekly basis. So it's a good patch of games now for Agwek to find his feet as that lead striker for this Avondale side.
Absolutely. Mel's with the flick on header. Oh, well won by Ute Towns. He's been an engine this afternoon. And space for Manny Agwek as well. Yusuf Ahmed really wants it at the back stick. Slightly overhit. In fact, way overhit. Here's Ahmed again. Painter Andrews to be the man to defend. Across the face! Oh! Agwek. Just the goal to beat. Of course, he himself also a former South player. Nearly finding the finishing touch.
It's so good, Avondale. It's getting their wingers isolated in 1v1 situations, and their wingers just back themselves in those situations to beat their man and get a ball into the area.
It was such a tight angle to get the strike away, but what an important chance for Avondale to potentially double their lead as we approach the 24th minute now. Pisani. Harding. In fact, we'll leave it short. Will we see the long throw? Mark, the first long throw since Esteban departed the club? I think we will. I think it's going to make a return.
Yes, it's smart coaching there from Monopolis. Opted not to use it last week, but it is a weapon that Mikula's got.
Would they have accounted for this in their pre-match plan? No. Avondale, who knows? But here it comes. Max Mikula, long throw. Harding. Ute Towns able to head away. Yankovic. Mells will clean up the scraps. Pope. Looks out wide. Is Brennan. Looks to fire it away, but into the palms of Tom Manos. And that is an effective route to goal. And I think that's what they need at this point in time. If you're going to use it, you may as well use it correctly. And they have done for the most part.
So a bit of frustration from Andy Brennan coming out there.
He's someone that gets frustrated quite easily, if I were to say it. And the way that South have been playing, it definitely reflects that. Into feet. Sort of a hope and prayer pass from Manny Agwek. Mikula. Mells. Looks for the pass to find Painter Andrews, but just took too long on the ball there.
Yeah, he got caught in two minds whether to switch the play or play that run that Painter Andrews made.
You have to be a quick decision maker in this system. You have to be. That's especially when you're playing Avondale. Like this is the team to watch in the NPL. And in the way that they move the ball so quickly, the decision making has to be apt and precise most of the time, if not all the time.
It just seemed very flat this afternoon, South Melbourne. Real lack of intensity. Even when they're trying to retain possession, the ball speed's quite slow, and just allowing Avondale to get numbers back and set up.
Oh, the turn from Tavia, delightful. Trojeski, the runner's arriving. Can he get to it first? He can, but it's slightly overhit. It's a very similar position to the first goal. Towns, Trojeski. Mel's able to get it clear, not as far as Kerr. The turn, it's Tavia with space to shoot. Twirls onto his right, then onto his left. And forces it out towards Yusuf Ahmed. Wellsmore, tight angles! Oh, Jordan Lampard sends it out for a corner.
They're starting to hit their straps now, Avondale. Just looks so dangerous when they get out wide and in behind those gaps between the fullback and the centre-back. Well, South Melbourne's really struggling to track the runners that are coming late into the box.
Delivery low. Avondale don't quite get it to the position in which they wanted, but Mikula is going to play it along the ground, but tame effort at that. Emmeline Wellsmore. Tavia. He's a player that's really improved leaps and bounds. Or maybe he always had the quality, but under this system, it just seems like taking a duck to water, really. He's been infallible this season when he's been on the park, has Luca Tavia.
Yeah, it's...
nearly! Perhaps! A back pass almost finding its way into the back of the net, and that's going to force South's line immensely high. Yankovic. Brennan. Pope. Out wide. Mel's with the delivery. Hits the back of Emmeline Wellsmore. Now Mikula. Neat flick. Painter Andrews. That's a great delivery. It's Jack Pope. Oh, what an opportunity for South Melbourne.
It's a fantastic ball into the area from Painter Andrews. And unfortunately, Jack Pope did well to get on the end of it, but opportunities are going to be few and far between this afternoon. Need to make Manos at least make a save in that situation. It's great work from Mikler as well with that back heel to Painter Andrews. I feel like Pope's gone the wrong way. He should have gone to the far post instead of that near post.
Well, that was the opportunity. That was the chance. That's South required. And this might just give them that extra spring in their step. Harding. Brennan. Neat ball movement. Harding in behind. Can he bypass Tom Manos? He can't. And the flag now goes up for offside. And Tom Manos could be in a bit of strife here.
That's very brave goalkeeping from Manos. Decided to go for that at the last second. But this is the issue with the assistant referees flagging so late for offside. Because, if he had to put his flag up at the time that ball was played when, he's made his mind up to Harding's offside, Manos doesn't need to put his body on the line like that. But, it's a very late flag that went up from the assistant referee. Manos back on his feet now, so at least he's okay.
You do see momentum shifts in this competition, and Avondale nearly conceding one of the worst goals you'll ever see might be the impetus for some change, perhaps.
Well, that's where South Melbourne need to, take the initiative now, and you've created a small window of momentum.
Here's Kerr. Can he open up the angle? Oh, good save from Javi Lopez, but it was a very tough angle at that to get the opportunity. And the poor clearance from Lampard, and Trojeski now on his right. It's deeper for Kerr. And just a brief reset for the Avengers. Ahmed. Yute Towns. In behind was Agua, caught in two minds there. Calls for handball against Mikela. Waved away, and a long ball out towards Dan Edwards, who wins the header. And Courtney Perkins. Kerr. Short, Agwek. Towns finds Yusuf Ahmed, who looks astride, but very neat save for Javi Lopez.
Avondale has started really taking control of the game since Agwek started to drop a little bit deeper to receive the ball in their build-up play. It's allowing Ahmed to drop into the middle, and then Wellsmore coming around the outside, so then they're really creating an overload of numbers when they're attacking.
And that's what they do best, Avondale, providing the overload when required, and really frustrating South as they're struggling to play out of this press. And that's because they're fitter than everyone else, to be honest. Mikela loses possession. Tracheski running into the area. He goes, faced by two South players, and Jack Pope certainly pushing the ball away and forcing the corner. Frustration from him as well, perhaps you might say.
This is where it's a risky manoeuvre by monopolists to try and implement this style of play. I know the South Melbourne supporter base has, grew tired of Esteban's tactics and wanted to change, but when you're in the situation that South Melbourne's in, I don't think that the aesthetics is what matters at the moment.
Easy claim by Javi Lopez, and he's going to send it high and long, but in pursuit of who? Oh, Towns. That is tremendous. Almost like juggling the ball in his head at this point, to be honest.
He's class from Ute Towns.
Absolute class. Oozes class.
You'd see 99% of players at this level just try and header that ball 20, 30 metres down the pitch. And Towns just classy.
That's so intelligent. So intelligent. That's really the type of player he is, to be honest. An intelligent player. Can play him an 8 or 6 and he'll do a fantastic job on both ends. Pope able to stride in behind Trajeski, but I think Jake Payne-Andrews is going to get there first and will win the free kick for South Melbourne Hellas.
I don't think Towns gets the recognition that he actually deserves. It's probably one of the most underrated players going around, which is no fault of his own. Just surrounded by Christian Trajeski and now Luka Sevilla. He's probably a little bit of an unsung hero in that Avondale lineup.
Would have to agree with you there. Flicked across was Pisani, and will South look for the Mikelo route? So they will again. So this is definitely something that's been practiced midweek. The remnants of Esteban, the ghost of Esteban, continues to haunt opposition sides. Still.
Look, it's a dangerous avenue to goal. It's an extra set piece for a side, You don't criticise a team crossing the ball into the area from a corner kick.
But they're taking it short, interestingly, at that. And Mikela, can he get the angle for the cross? They'll get a corner. South Melbourne, also a team that loves to focus on their set piece taking as well. And it looks like Max Mikela will be the corner taker in question. "35 minutes gone in this Saturday afternoon special in the NPL Victoria. Max Mikela to take the corner for Hellas. Delivered strongly. Manos gets a punch to it. Andy Brennan! Oh, that was a huge opportunity for South Melbourne. Brennan now has to roll it back to Yankovic, but he was under so much pressure. But dealt with it impeccably well. And again, I think that's another case, Mark, of South Melbourne players being in two minds again.
Yeah, you
could have made it a lot less comfortable.
You would have seen under the Quintas era that ball would have just gone straight back into the area, which in that situation probably was the right thing to do. You know, Andy Brennan created some unnecessary pressure upon his teammates.
Definitely. And I think we have seen a bit of a switch in the formation as well. Looks like Cooper Halfpenny stepping up higher. Mel's is being played deeper, which probably is the right change, all things considered. The flick on from Pope and then by Andy Brennan. Bodies to body with Robert Harding. Kirk falls very deep. And Avondale's line deep as well. Manos has to get it clear. He does. Marshall shrugs off the challenge. Mel's looks to win the header. Pisani. Oh, it's scrappy, isn't it? Yankovic. And Halfpenny. Well, had to get it somewhere, and they did feed it into Jordan Lampard. Lopez goes long. Mel's wins the header. Brennan. Mikola. South can stride. Feeds it out wide. Harding. Approaching the area. Here's Robert Harding. Cuts across. Mel's! Oh! Just over the bar. But that's effective football from South Melbourne, nonetheless.
Yeah, it was a better passage of play. We've seen this a number of times this afternoon and last week as well, that they get the ball out wide into that area, but then they're a bit lost for ideas. There's no forward runs from the attackers and really struggling to get numbers inside the box to create a good opportunity. You know, on the other side, you see when Avondale attack, you know, there's clear patterns of play and runs with a purpose.
Well, we'll see Avondale under a lot of duress again, but they deal with it this time impeccably well as Agwek looks to fire long. And I think Yusuf Ahmed didn't quite know where the ball was in that instance. And Lopez fires it long. Mikola the intended target. Wellsmore, second ball. Won by Mikola, who goes to ground, but advantage to be played. Here's Brennan. Mikola's still on the ground, though. It's Andy Brennan. And gives away the foul, but Max Mikola seems to be in quite some pain here, and maybe a bit of a corky to his leg, perhaps. Quad, it seems, but oof, that was that wasn't pretty.
No, it wasn't. You know, Ute Towns had every right to go in and win that ball.
Avondale with a strong ball forward. It's Agwek and a heavy touch. They're just the way that they're able to get themselves in such dangerous positions with such ease is truly remarkable. South definitely putting up a fight, though. It has to be said. I think under previous weeks probably would have faltered at this point even further into the abyss.
Yeah, they've done well to contain it to a 1-0 scoreline. But you just can't see where the avenue to goal is for South Melbourne at the moment.
Fortunate deflection from Halfpenny. And now it's Robert Harding. He's got space up ahead of him. Harding. Lateral to Brennan. The reverse pass, and it's overhit for Jordan Lampard, and it will be a Avondale goal kick. They're trying to be positive. It's hard to utilise a space, but they just have to capitalise on defensive errors, which is what happened last week, making the most of it.
They need to put this Avondale defence under a little bit more pressure. You know, make some more runs in behind the fullback and the centre backs.
Strong utilisation of the body from Yusuf Ahmed, and Towns plays it back to Tom Manos. Here's Dan Edwards. Feeds it into the path of Agwek, and the space for the Avengers has been open wide, but Yankovic able to get it clear. And the free kick eventually does arrive for the Avengers, and it will be just outside of the box. A dangerous, imperious opportunity for the home side to double their lead at this point in time.
Great position for a free kick.
Frightening, especially when you got Kerr, Tavia. Trajeski can also hit a free kick as well. We know Kerr can hit them, don't we?
Yeah, they've got a number of set piece takers. Even Yui Ahmed's taken them over the years as well.
And Jack Morgan will blow his whistle, and we will see the set piece right outside of the area, slightly central, but what an angle it is. It's Kerr. Deflects off the wall and out for a corner. Avondale players believe it hit the arm of a South Melbourne player, but Kerr to take.
Scramble to get there in the end, Lopez.
Kerr, strong delivery to the near post. Just flicks over the top and out for a goal kick. .42 minutes gone in this opening half.
I think South should just try and see out this half with a 1-0 deficit and regroup at half time and make some tweaks to the way they're playing to get themselves back into it. A goal now before half time for Avondale would really put another nail in the coffin for South Melbourne.
Not quite at the point of damage limitation yet, because South have been able to generate some opportunities, but something has to give at some point. Mel's looking to feed it central, but no options presenting themselves just quite. Manos. And looks like the South Melbourne attack are just looking to close the options down, really. But eventually, Pisani will bring it forward. Trajeski whisks away from his marker. He's got Yite Towns for support. Now Tavia. Looks out wide for Yusuf Ahmed. Dazzling Ahmed, and eventually breaks cleanly for Trajeski. It's Tavia toying with their food at Avondale, and eventually back to Yite Towns. A heavy touch from Yusuf Ahmed, but that is a trademark of his game. It's all intentional here and there. Trajeski driving central. It's won by Javi Lopez. He'll be in no rush to take. He'll take his time. It's bomb long now. Wellsmore. Oh, what a touch by Brennan. Mel's. Oh, that's class. Mikola. Marshall. Brennan, what a flick. Painter Andrews. And 1 minute of added time to boot.
Good defending from Edwards there. Bit of desperation to make sure that ball didn't enter the area properly.
And it looks like South Melbourne are going to put some players back. They want to prevent this counter-attack, especially on the stroke of half-time. I think Max Mikola is going to try and utilise as much as the clock as he can. And who can really blame him? Max Mikola with the delivery. It's towards a backstick. Yankovic. Halfpenny! It's nicely for Max Mikola, though. Looks to try his luck. Deflects out to Mel's, who hooks it back into the mixer. And I think that might just be it for half-time. No, not just quite. But I think Jack Morgan has his, quite literally has his whistle in his mouth to call the half-time as it should be. But we'll have a bit more to play, not quite. Avondale lead 1-0 at half-time, courtesy of a goal from Yusuf Ahmed. South Melbourne falling behind yet again, but definitely not out of this one.
No, they've had some positive moments of play. No real clear-cut chances of any note, but if they can tweak some things at half time and maybe apply a bit more pressure to the Avondale defence and lift the intensity slightly, they could find themselves getting back into the game. And Avondale can't get too complacent in the second half either, as much as they've dominated possession.
number 12. It is Avondale up against South Melbourne. Hellas. A goal from Yui Ahmed is what has opened proceedings. No changes from either side at the break. South Melbourne look to edge their way back into this contest. Avondale, conversely, to double their lead, if not more. But we'll see as to what this second half can produce. Jack Morgan, our head referee, ready to kick us off in this second half. Mark Ivkovic, your thoughts? You get the feeling if South had a striker, things might be a bit different.
Yeah, that's definitely one observation. I thought it was a very flat 45 minutes, probably from both sides, really. Avondale could probably lift their intensity as well as South Melbourne. Just like to see South Melbourne probably try something a little bit different in attack as well. Maybe put two up front to put Edwards and Pisani under a bit more pressure. But we'll see if there's any tactical changes as this second half commences.
And we have proceedings open with the classic Australian football diagonal. As Harding gets involved early. Pisani, Mikola. No space on that left flank though for South Melbourne. And Courtney Perkins with a delightful foray forward. Eventually is left by Lampard for the throw. Here is Lampard, of course, formerly of Green Gully. Spent time at the Brisbane Roar under-21s as well. In behind is Harding, who's offside yet again. Isn't exactly timing his runs correctly, is the Western Australian.
No, strange to be offside in that area as well, in that build-up.
But it looks like South are going to play with some more intensity. I mean, I know it's only been 55 seconds, but it's definitely something to go by and see how high Cooper Halfpenny comes up to receive. It's really demonstrative of that. Kerr. Edwards in short to Villa. Pisani. Won by Lampard. Halfpenny. Oh, it's too slightly wide for Lampard. He keeps possession. And somehow Agüe got a touch. Lampard the 1-2 with Harding. Drives towards the byline. Can he get the cross away? He can. Brennan Mikola. What a chance for South Melbourne.
It's a positive start to the second half for South Melbourne. They've got nothing to lose, really. You know, probably apply a bit more pressure and take the game on. I don't think they were really going to get back into the game with the way the first half was panning out.
And George Mells standing over this one. Delivered low. It's Brennan. I'm not sure what the intent was there, but nonetheless it hits the netting.
Just get the ball back into the area and don't get caught on transition was probably the attempt there.
Avondale love to capitalise on errors. That's sort of the name of the game for them, really. Andy Brennan, I mean, he's been around the trap so many times. His third stint at South Melbourne, formerly of the Newcastle Jets, and 6 different NPL clubs. Stride from Yusuf Ahmed. Oh, slightly wide for Luca Tavia, but a foul eventually is given away. Stops South Melbourne in their tracks. Tavia. Pisani. Courtney Perkins. Infield Agüe. Misplaced. Pope. Mel's eager to get it forward. Mikola, but Edwards wins the header over there.
One of the instructions from Monopolis at halftime would have been to move the ball a bit quicker. You can see that the ball tempo and speed's gone a lot quicker from South Melbourne.
Well, that it has, as Hellas win the ball and at a very good position in their attacking half. Mells feeds it towards Mikola to look to whisk away and loses possession. No foul call. It's Kerr racing. Tavia It's Kirker in behind. Just Javi Lopez to beat. No! What a chance. And now South will look to counter. Here's George Mills. The outside of the foot pass to Mikola. Pope to his left. Here's Jack Pope. Cuts onto his right now. Short is Mells. Into feet. Halfpenny. Mells takes a deflection and out for a corner. Well, this game has reached a different level of tempo.
It's an example of what Avondale can do to you when they win that ball in transition. Kirker's got to finish that. Took way too much time making up his mind on when to pull the trigger. Allowed Lopez to set himself, and you know that's what Lopez is so good at.
And here is Max Mikola to take. Will he go short? Will he go long? Long is the intention. It sits kindly for George Mells. What a save by Tom Manos.
Some great reaction save.
Rifles it.
Great attempt by George Mells on the edge of the box though.
His second sided goal this afternoon. They'll try their luck again. Mikola, short. Mells is free! Oh. Very tame effort, to say the very least. Left him all alone. Lampard. Brennan. Wins the corner. South mounting pressure at the moment, and the away fans find voice.
And starting to build some momentum now, South Melbourne.
Mells, central again. It sits kindly for Andy Brennan. But that's actually found its way onto the roof of the club rooms.
He positions himself so well on set pieces, Andy Brennan. The amount of times that he finds that second ball that just seems to attract him all the time.
Manos, instead of taking it short, Avondale take it long, and this is unfamiliar from the Avengers. Going long? That's not the Zoran Markovsky way.
There was a very high press there from South Melbourne.
Oh, beautiful chest down, and Mells will feed it towards Robert Harding. Short, Lampard. And that's cheaply given away right into the palms. I wouldn't say palms, it's just say feet of Kirker. Can't use your hands as an outfield player. Dan Edwards looking to utilise the width of the pitch down that left flank, and this is a task for Emlyn Wellsmore, and Max Mikola makes sure work of it and sends it out for a corner.
Yeah, you can't be giving away possession like that. You know, it's been a good 5 or so minutes for South Melbourne. You can't give away cheap possession in those areas of the pitch against this Avondale side.
Not at all. Luca Tavia to stand over this one. It's a strong delivery, punch away from Javi Lopez, and South Melbourne believe there was a foul in the box, but nonetheless, the goal kick for Hellas. Still 1-0 here at Avenger Park, courtesy of a goal from Yusuf Ahmed just around the 20-minute mark. Lopez looks wide, and Lampard will keep it in. Second ball won by Jack Pope. And over the top is Harding. Can he nip in behind? He can. It's Robert Harding. And the goal kick ensuing.
That's not good enough from Rob Harding. You've got to hit the target from that area. You know, did well to get the run in behind, but a very poor attempt at goal. You need to put your laces through it and really test Manos.
Avondale look to play it out of the back again, but South are pressing with so much intent. But how about the flick from Courtney Perkins? And Jankovic has lost his footing, and this could be danger for South Melbourne. It's Aguek. Tavia with space in behind. The slide from Jankovic, and the slide in two from Luka Tavia. And this game has reached a fever pitch in terms of scrappiness. I'd say a good 7 to 8 on the scrappiness scale at the moment. Max Mikkola. Oh, he held it for way too long there. Way too long from Mikkola. And Trajewski is up ahead. He's got Wellsmore to his left. It's Emmeline Wellsmore. It's delightful. Once again, Avondale's star signing in Emmeline Wellsmore delivers the all-important counter-punch to put this game just about to bed.
Well, it's a really poor effort from Max Mikkola. You can't lose the ball on the halfway line with numbers streaming forward. You know, especially against Avondale. That's their bread and butter, scoring goals like that. And great finish from Wellsmore. You know, had a poor game last week. A great way to bounce back. He's been good defensively as well this afternoon.
And that's some way to silence your doubters. The Kiwi and Queenslander, of course, moved up to Brisbane, play with the Raw. Port Melbourne, Oakley, now Avondale. A litany of clubs, but what a way to open your account this afternoon. And Avondale more or less in a heap at the moment.
Jeez, it was really poor from Mikkola. You've got to have more awareness on the pitch, or one, on where you are on the pitch, and two, what's around you. It's a real coach killer to lose the ball that way.
That's a huge coach killer. Lampard, nippy. Tries to get in, but... Oh, Tavia. Clever. Ahmed. Oh. Avondale looking to show all their tricks now that they're 2 goals up, but South will have something to say about that. Here's Harding driving forward. Brennan on the left. Cut across the face. And it's Tom Manos to take.
It's a good ball into the area from Brennan, but again, no South attackers desperate enough to get into the box to attack the ball.
Oh, Wellsmore striding, and Jack Pope hacks him down. And South not looking to their bench just yet. They know their day has definitely gotten a lot harder. And I must say, the 2 goals have been caused by more or less defensive errors. I mean, Javi Lopez was heavily depositioned for the first goal. The second one was, I wouldn't say much of a defensive error, but a lack of awareness more so with Max Mikkola. But South just have to eliminate that from their game, really. And if they want to stay in the top flight, this is paramount for them to maintain. And Marko Jankovic runs into the back of Luka Tavia.
They just look like a team that's really, really low on confidence. You know, you can just... A number of players out there that, you know, have been on the top of their game for a number of years and really just look struggling out there, making silly mistakes. Like, you saw that error from Max Mikkola. You'd never see that mistake from him in the previous 3 seasons.
Again, that's another lack of judgment. Jankovic striding forward and losing out the ball and vacates his position for Kerr to find the attempt here. It's Trajewski. Oh my word. Christian Trajewski. Unbelievable. From the angle. Fires the third for the Avengers, and South Melbourne into further disarray.
That's really, really poor from Marko Jankovic. You know, no need to be caught out in that position to begin with, but then the lack of desperation to get back into defence to support your teammates, just jogged back. Great finish from Trajewski. But, you know, South Melbourne got themselves to blame to be 3 goals down. You know, started the second half with a bit of momentum. But a team like Avondale, you can't give them a sniff at goal the way they have for the last 2 goals. They're easily preventable.
And again, Yankovic stepping up high, but doesn't lose out the ball again. That's a mistake from Halfpenny, and Agwek is in behind. This could be more danger for South Melbourne. It's Matty Agwek, just Harvey Lopez to beat. And Avondale are pulling South Melbourne's pants down at the moment. Oh my word.
Wow. Again, really poor defensive errors from South Melbourne. Again, Marko Jankovic, no need to be in the attacking half. You've just exposed your defence. You just made an error 2 minutes ago to cost your side a goal. And you go and do it again, and you just get picked apart like that. This Avondale side lives off mistakes like this. It's just no game awareness from South Melbourne at the moment.
And Manuel Agwek adds another to his tally for the season, and in the matter of moments, South Melbourne looking like as if they were going to edge their way back in. 5 minutes has resulted in 3 goals, and this game is dead and buried, 6 feet under at this point, to be honest.
Well, now it's damage limitation for South Melbourne. You know, this could heavily start to blow out as Avondale's really hit their straps in the last 5 minutes. And how many times in world football, do you see a team that's down the bottom of the table and get a result like this? Really can destroy any little bit of confidence that was left in this team.
Mells delivers. Marshall the intended target and calls for a handball, but it's another corner off of Wellsmore.
But the players just look lost out there, to be honest, the South Melbourne players. And this is, a lack of direction from the club at the moment where, no one knows what's going on with the coaching situation. And I'm sure the players are starting to feel that as well.
Oh, I mean, they would. I mean, it's damage limitation, as you mentioned, and I guess the coaching situation leaves a lot to be desired if you're a South Melbourne supporter. I mean, it's been 3 weeks since Esteban coached his last game for South Melbourne, and I mean, what now? Really? I mean, that is the question to be answered. I mean, where to go now? It's been a dismal period for the club, and I guess the last 5 minutes aren't emblematic of the entire package of the 60 minutes that have been played here, but they've looked a side mentally defeated, and within this game as well, it's definitely befitting of that moniker, and it's unfortunate to say the very least. Mikola. Leach. Through all that, we did see a change. Cooper Halfpenny came off, Charlie Leach coming on, and probably the right one to make, considering he was, I guess, a part of that disjointed midfield that really, to be honest, has performed well in the time that he's been given this season, but I guess just today it just isn't the time for South. Heavy touch from Luca Tavia, but he just wins it back with ease. Here's Agwek. He's got space for Kerr on the right flank. Kerr still going. Oh, leaves Lampard for dead. It's cut out. And Mells has to get it clear. He does. Brennan nipping in behind, and he might be through on goal here as Andy Brennan. Turns to his right. It's Andy Brennan short for Mikola. He sends that in turn over the top into the club rooms himself as well. A lack of idea, lack of creativity, lack of everything just about for South Melbourne. Let's just put it pretty bluntly.
I think it's as bad as it comes, really. This last 10-15 minutes of South Melbourne, probably their worst spell of the season to date. They're really struggling to create any chances. lack of fluidity up front, really poor decision making on the pitch from experienced campaigners as well.
And I mean, isn't this a sight that you want to see as a South Melbourne supporter? You see Stefan Valentini, Stefan Zinni, and Sian Cuba coming on. It's no words can describe the firepower that Avondale have to utilise off the bench. It's a crazy thought.
Well, that's where, when you start looking at the Esteban Quintas era for South Melbourne, perhaps he overachieved with the squad that he had at times as well. You look at the depth that Avondale's got. I don't think South Melbourne ever had that type of depth in their squad. And it's just a really poor state of affairs for South Melbourne at the moment.
Kerker, Yusuf Ahmed and Christian Trzeski to make way. Sian Cuba, Stefan Zinni, Stefan Valentini coming on. It looks like South Melbourne will bring in the changes as well. Morgan Evans and Andrico Mezzaruni coming on. I mean, what a statement Avondale have made today. And I think, let's not forget, South have got a cup game on Tuesday against the Bentley Greens. And I guess the quick turnaround, that doesn't really afford a lot of time for mistakes and time for errors, but it's something to definitely keep your finger on the pulse about Leach.
Well, it is a damage limitation now for South Melbourne because they've dropped into the relegation zone now on goal difference.
Oh, yes, they have.
And it doesn't get any easier for them next week. They've got...
Oh, no, it doesn't.
Oakley next week.
And look at how Avondale deal with the South Melbourne press. As Luca Tavia is striding forward. He's got space to his left, space to his right. Tavia, Valentini, and it's out for a corner.
Really stretched at the moment, South Melbourne. There's a massive hole in that middle of the pitch.
You have to make a coaching decision now, Mark. I mean, you have to. It's paramount to arrest this decline, which has been seeping since February. It's remarkable.
No disrespect to Lee Monopolis, but the reality is South Melbourne's in a relegation battle now, and they need someone with experience to come in and get them out of this. You can't be banking on, the rumours out there that, that they'll just have a caretaker coach for the remainder of the season and try and audaciously lure a big name for the championship at the end of the season. The championship shouldn't even be on their mind at the moment. They're in a relegation battle in the NPL.
Oh, that's putting it very bluntly, and that is the honest truth. To be honest, it's a relegation battle, and they will have the Oakley game at home next week. They have Port Melbourne at home the week after that, and then they face off against Melbourne Knights away. So those are the games that they essentially have to win in order for them to ensure survival for the season. Aside from that, I mean, it's looking very bleak, and Mezzaruni will come on alongside Morgan Evans, Pope, Mikola, and we'll see Andrico Mezzaruni come on for Andy Brennan, Morgan Evans for Jack Painter-Andrews. And it looks like Joey Katavian is also being prepared to come on for Avondale.
This might be a result blessing in disguise for South Melbourne, because this might kick the board into action to make some tough decisions at the club.
Oh, definitely.
When you're a big club, you think you're immune to relegation, but the reality is no one's immune from relegation. We're still a long way away from that, but they're in that zone now, and they're in that zone for a reason. It's not by luck that they're sitting third bottom.
Have to definitely concur with your assertion there. Oh, look, where to next for South? We'll find out in the next few days. 4-0 is extremely ugly, and it looks like Avondale are just about on autopilot, as you can expect at the moment. I mean, oh, that is reckless from Stefan Zini. I think he might have hit the ankle of Rob Harding, and it'll be, I think, the first card of the afternoon, to be honest. Stefan Zini going into the book for a yellow card, and here's a Leach.
It's just funny how football works, isn't it, Neil? You know, it's not even 12 months ago, less than that, South Melbourne clinching the minor premiership here at Avenger Park and making it another grand final. Jeez, they're worlds apart at the moment, Avondale and South Melbourne now.
Worlds apart in any way, shape or form you could possibly imagine. It is a sad predicament for many. Mezzaruni in behind. Our last touch came off Ethan Pisani, so it will be South corner.
But the players need to take some responsibility themselves as well. You know, the individual mistakes this afternoon are not good enough for the club, for themselves.
And the header to Roots. Did it cross the line? No, it didn't, according to the assistant referee. But they'll take the set piece yet again.
It's a fantastic
this time
save.
for George Mills.
Fantastic save from Manos.
Unbelievable save from Tom Manos. Here's Mills again. Slightly higher this time. Manos comes to punch. Tavia and the break away for Stefan Zini, former South Melbourne product. Got space up ahead of him, but nice challenge from Jordan Lampard. Mills asked for it on that central left-hand side. Lofted ball towards Mezzaruni. Mezzaruni drifting. Evans. Mezzaruni again. Just looking to find the option. And I think that option to goal will be a throw-in.
It's been a good reaction from South Melbourne the last 5 minutes. You know, it was looking like it could get ugly, but they've settled and kept their composure the last 5 minutes and haven't given up, which they can't afford to. You know, even a goal now, every goal is so crucial for them at the moment. You know, with the way the goal difference is at that bottom of the table.
Everything matters at this point for South Melbourne, and we'll see Max Mikela take the throw in now for the away side. It looks like Manny Agwick's going to make way. I don't suspect we'll see Joey Katavian going up top, 2016 style, but it'll be a Max Mikela throw now. Yankovic looks to flick on. It's Pope. Down for Mezzaruni. Mezzaruni still going and leaves it for Leach. Nice little 1-2. The former Port Melbourne teammates. And it looks like Max Mikela is going to go all the way to the other side to take the throw. Throw-in taken. Marshall, backstick, no one home. Mells with the volley. Look, tries luck again. He does, and it just dips over the bar. A double change as well. Sam Franco and Lucas Inglese coming on. Sam Franco has made a South Melbourne senior NPL debut last week. And Lucas Inglese as well. Looks like they're going to empty the bench.
It was impressive last week on his debut, Franco.
Brother of Josh Franco. and a Glenara FTS product himself. So comes from a footballing family. I think his brother's travelling in Europe at the moment.
Leach has been good since he's come on as well, showing a bit more fight in the middle of the park.
These are the games that really matter for someone like a Charlie Leach. How can you respond when you're down 4-0? You can't really do much in terms of affecting the result, but intent is the most important thing, and for him that's the main thing at the moment. The backwards header from Courtney Perkins. Tavia. Towns. Yankovic striding forward. Mikola comes to receive. Back towards Mells. Has to get rid of it quickly. He does. Mezzaruni opens up the angle. Back towards Leach. Looked to feed it towards Harding, but couldn't do so.
Again, just lost for ideas in attack, South Melbourne. They need Bernardo back ASAP.
When is the question, though, for Noel Bernardo? We will see. I think with his involvement, the game could have definitely had an entirely different complexion. But, well, back to the drawing board, really, for the South. They've looked more positive than they have under Esteban for the season. But the result is 4-0 at the moment. And questions have to be asked of individuals at the club. I mean, what is the next step? Who do you bring in mid-season? And how are you going to arrest this decline, which has been ongoing for so long? And I think we'll see the changes now. George Mells is going to make way for Sam Franco, and Lucas Inglese is going to get a bit of a cameo as well. Probably the brighter of the South Melbourne players this afternoon, George Mells.
Yeah, he was solid in the midfield. It's hard at the moment playing in that South Melbourne midfield with the lack of creativity they've got going forward. But just back on that style of play, yeah, it's been slightly easier on the eye, but I'm sure if you're a South Melbourne supporter at the moment, I don't think you really care about the style of play. Yeah. You just want results. You need a team that's going to be able to grind out results at the moment, find a way to win.
That's one win in the last 3 months nearly. The win actually came in a cup game against Eastern Lions 2 weeks ago on Easter weekend. So it's demonstrative of where they are at the moment. I think this is the reality for them, and it's a relegation battle. There aren't too many tried and tested relegation battle managers in this competition. But we will see what the approach might be for the remainder of the season. Halfway just about done in the NPL Victoria competition for 2025. Zinni. It's got space to work with, and see Yite Towns now. Katabian. Courtney Perkins. Tavia. Towns, Katabian. Pisani. Courtney Perkins. Katabian. And Courtney Perkins has not got a lot of space to work with, and the turn from Towns was very good at that. Lampard, strong touch forward. In behind Harding. Rolls it across the face to no one in pursuit yet again. Tavia. Zinni with space, but all too easy for Javi Lopez.
Avondale will be desperate to keep a clean sheet now, especially with that makeshift defence that they've got this afternoon. It'll take a lot of confidence keeping a clean sheet.
Yes, they would. I mean, putting square pegs in round holes. I mean, they're playing Evelyn Wellsmore as a left fullback, so it's just one of those days, isn't it?
But it just goes to show how good Avondale's system is and their coaching methods. Doesn't matter who's available, they always find a way to make it work. You see Sian Cooper now playing as the 9
Franku heads up. Edwards clears. Evans striding into space. Franku back towards Inglese. Out towards Evans. He's going to drive towards the byline as Morgan Evans, but just loses possession, the South Australian. And Valentini, himself also a former South product, and just glazes past Lucas Inglese. Charlie Leach striding forward and just mistakenly found the foot of Andrew Mezzaruni.
I think that sums up South Melbourne's afternoon, that passage of play. Disastrous afternoon, the 23s losing 4-2 as well.
Yeah,
in the curtain raiser.
Look, the first home game since the 3-0 loss to Heidelberg will be against Oakley next week, and I think there must be something to give prior to that. I mean, will it be a result in the cup though? But as for now, Valentini strides and it's saved by Javi Lopez. Sian Cuba, it's Zinni, twirls onto his right, and Avondale to reset. Katabian. This game's very much wide open, and Franku left in all sorts, as we'll see Wellsmore now. Back to Katabian.
Avondale just picking South Melbourne apart at the moment. It was a great pass from Katabian.
No need to get out of second gear at the moment. Out of first gear, to be honest. Yeah. And I think assessing the coaches that are available, there are not many, to be honest. And that has really been the main question, if anyone, who for South Melbourne.
That's where you've got to be ruthless as a board, you know. You need to make up your mind on who is the man that you want and do whatever it takes to get them, whether they're employed at the moment or not. You know, you need to make a decision quickly and go after that man and convince him that it's the place, that they can turn things around.
Yeah, within a long-term outlook, sustainability and stability is the most important avenues for this giant of Australian football to go down. And you have an injury stoppage. It looks like Emlyn Wellsmore is in a bit of a heap, and I think this will give us an opportunity to go through the results so far this round in the NPL Victoria. It's been an action-packed Friday night, as always. Heidelberg United rocketed up the table for all of less than 24 hours as they defeated a come-from-behind win up against the Oakley Cannons last night. Preston Lions 3-2 winners over Green Gully, and a 3-3 draw at JL Murphy Reserve between the Altona Magic and Port Melbourne. Listen Diaz back on the score sheet as well. Adam L. Hayek to come on now as well. Mainly been relegated to the 23s this season has Adam L. Hayek. We'll see him back in action, the Avondale youth product, but also spent some time at Western United in their NPL squad.
It's a good performance from Wellsmore this afternoon. Solid defensively. Great goal as well. Really kick-started that onslaught.
It was a really glamorous 5 minutes, wasn't it? I mean, from start to finish, they were ruthless. And that's all you really need, to be honest, at this level, is a 5-minute burst to kill teams off, and they did that so convincingly, and just speaks to what this team can do, really. And
they're the best at it in this competition, Avondale.
Mm-hmm.
you can't give them a sniff. You know, they can smell blood, Avondale. You know, a lot of teams can't in this competition, and they know when to put the foot down on the gas, and they definitely did this afternoon.
Absolutely, and especially after coming off a cup win on Tuesday, it's a bit of a short turnaround, and they have done well. And I guess to compose themselves and go again after last week, the sky really is the limit for Zoran Markovski. And you speak of the Australian Championship, they should have the legs to compete and perhaps win the competition as well if anyone were to be considered. I'd say the early predictions, but probably between them or Marconi at the moment. Leach. Francu delivers. Well, a drop for Mezzaruni it does initially, but looking to whisk away and ride the challenge of Sian Cuba and Yute Townsend couldn't quite do so. And Towns leaves Pope flat on his face. Yute Towns, incredible this afternoon, has not put a single foot wrong whatsoever.
You speak of the championship, you look at the squad that Avondale's got, they don't really need to add
if
anything, maybe a little bit more defensive cover with the injuries that they've got at the moment. But you know, this team's ready to compete in that competition. Conversely, look at South Melbourne's squad. And it's a lot of work to do in this transfer window later on in the season to get that right for the championship as well. Not only to survive in this league. That's the benefit they'll have, you know, going into that back end of the season when that window opens, that they should be able to sign some quality players in that window to you know, help them propel up the table because they've got that lure of the Australian Championship. That's the advantage they'll have over the teams around them in that relegation zone.
It is a sort of a silver lining a little bit that you have that in the back of your mind that, hey, look, if all goes not to plan, then we do have this competition to sort of get us a bit excited. Or it might not be at that. It might just be more pain for them going out in the group stage. But it's early days, all things considered, in the entire footballing calendar. And South will have to do everything to avoid another sort of Bentley Green scenario, to be honest, which is probably the only thing you can compare it to at the moment. I mean, Bentley Green's had and still have some stalwarts of the competition, like Jack Webster. They had George Lambadaridis. Talented players within that team as well. And I think it's just unfortunate to see the plight that they took, but South Melbourne have to ensure they don't follow that same trail.
100%. You know, they need to get out of that mentality of we'll be okay.
Here's Charlie Leach. He's got Mezzaruni to his right. It's Anduliko Mezzaruni. Leaves El Hayek for dead. Anduliko Mezzaruni hits the post. And that is emblematic of not just their afternoon tonight. It's their season in a microcosm. So well done by Anduliko Mezzaruni. And Tavia. He does find Valentini just about approaching the byline. It's Valentini across the face to no one in pursuit.
Yeah, as I was saying, South Melbourne needs to get out of that mentality of, you know, we'll be okay, we're South Melbourne. There's no evidence so far this season, and in particular this afternoon, that they are going to be okay. They've got struggling to create goal-scoring opportunities, yet alone goals, the second lowest scoring team in the competition. And, you know, they've been poor defensively this season as well, which has been their backbone for a number of years. And just their general play as well has been poor. You know, nearly halfway through the season, the table doesn't lie, and there's no real reason to say that they are going to be okay. That, you know,
absolutely, there is nothing that says they'll be okay whatsoever. The question is, how can they get on their bike and go once again, really?
It's where it's a difficult position for clubs like South Melbourne and Melbourne Knights, both in the relegation battle. You can't rely on your history to get you out of that situation, unfortunately. It's, you know, the here and now. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past as a club. You know, both are big clubs, but it's the here and now that matters.
It is indeed the here and the now. It's the present and this is the present for this football club. As for Avondale, oh, they are just in cruise control, and they will keep their spot up top, but Heidelberg are breathing down their neck, and they are the form team in this league. The likes of Oakley also are there, and well, isn't that going to be an exciting clash in a few weeks when Oakley come to town to impart more pain upon Avondale, like they did last season, a 3-0 win in that semi-final, away from home. Mezzaruni loses possession to VR. Sian Cuba. It's got the runners available, and Zinni chipped in towards the central region. Oh, it's going to be kept in by Stefan Zinni. Oh, what a tight angle to get the shot away, but Harvey Lopez was there to parry it away. Three minutes of added time. South will want to make sure these 3 minutes go quickly in their mind. Tavia. It's a high arcing set piece. And the foul called against Stefan Valentini. All focus to the Doherty Cup for South Melbourne. They take on George Katsakis' Bentley Greens on Tuesday night. Avondale already through to the next round, a 2-0 win over Altona City.
Tell you what, probably the best thing for South Melbourne would be to lose that game to Bentley. I think the last thing they need at the moment is a cup run.
It could be a silver lining, though. It could be a silver lining. I mean,
it can paper over the cracks at times.
Oh, it definitely can. It definitely can. But Avondale themselves have an intriguing run ahead. Green Gully next week away from home. And that big game against the Oakley Cannons. So this game was wrapped up in the 60th minute. It's been more or less cruise control since for the Avengers. We'll just recap it for you. Yusuf Ahmed opened proceedings. Goals then in the second half followed from Evelyn Wellsmore, Mania Gweck. And South Melbourne a lot more to Rue. And Glazer, that's a very good ball, but Edwards has put his body on the line in more ways than one, and the makeshift centre-half has done a very good job. And so is Ethan Pisani, I have to be honest. They've looked very composed in this second half. Maybe that's part in due to the scoreboard, but it's been a statement, as I say the very least, as Cuba unleashes the delivery. Cuba once more. Cuba driving. Oh, Sian Cuba lost his footing eventually.
But again, another second half fade out from South Melbourne. I mentioned it in the first half, nearly every game this season, they've really faded out in the second halves of games, especially after the hour mark, and pretty much bang on that half an hour that they found themselves 4-0 down. So it really begs the question, what did they do all pre-season? Because they look like one of the most unfittest team in the competition this year.
They look very disinterested, it has to be said, and I think all eyes will really be on that Melbourne Knights game tomorrow against Dandenong City. Another Croatian derby. It's going to be an absolute feast at Thompson Stadium. Feels weird saying that, Thompson Stadium, at 3 p.m. on a Sunday, and then on Monday, of course, Melbourne Victory take on Hume City. And that is full-time here at Avenger Park. Avondale at their amazing best. 4-0 winners over South Melbourne. Misery continues for Hellas. What an afternoon of football. And that 5-minute burst early on is what made the difference.
Yeah, Avondale ruthless at their ruthless best really this afternoon. South Melbourne extremely poor in that second half. A lot of work to do for South Melbourne, and they need to get their house in order very quickly to get out of this situation.
Well, that's all we have time for here at Avenger Park. I've been Neil Simons for the NPL Victoria. We'll see you very, very soon for some more coverage. Thank you very much.